Right, a very warm welcome back. If you've just tuned in, we're in Durban today, and this is the venue for the latest in a series of New Age business briefings brought to you by the SABC, and today sponsored by 49M Eskom, making sure that you keep those appliances that you don't need off, and let's keep the lights on. All right, okay, so we're chatting about women in leadership, particularly in local government. And just before the break, we heard that the figure has only risen to about 30%, which means there are a lot of women out there, you that I'm talking to, who could be playing a part and you could be making a difference, but you really have to offer yourself and not be held backwards. But let's chat to somebody who's done the walk. Councillor Mazibuko, you've offered yourself to service. You've risen to the highest levels of local government. And I'm just wondering, how difficult has it been to lead as a woman? Because, you know, women have to deal with so many things. There's the whole cultural drama. You can be mayor in your office. When you come home, you're my wife, and you have to put on another hat and subordinate. I'm just wondering, in your job as mayor and as councillor, do you get the respect that you deserve, or is it a challenge from men, fellow male councillors, in doing your job and executing your job?
Yes, Peter. I think there'll always be a challenge for a woman to prove herself that she can do the job. You know, sometimes when working with male counterparts, you see that you are being undermined deliberately. But you do need to put your foot down. I think what is important is that as females, we mustn't go to a meeting without preparing ourselves, because that is where you'll get undermined. If you don't know your facts, if you don't know what is happening, then you will definitely get undermined. But if you know your facts and you know your story, then you will. And there are moments when you just want to take your things and go away, go far away, but you need then to go back and remember that there are people who have put confidence, who have confidence in you that you need to represent. But over and above that, I think we do need as leaders to start laying a foundation of building a girl child to prepare them for leadership. In our wards, in our municipalities, we need to involve a lot more girls, because if we still think that their role is in the kitchen and we don't do anything, and for us it's important because we already have experiences that will help them to be better leaders than us.
All right, okay. Let's go to the floor now, get a sense of what some of your fellow councillors are saying here. And we start at table 44, where we'll find Malusi Mkhize. Table 44. Okay, if you could stand and we'll get a microphone to you. Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity. My question was around the Commonwealth Games that are coming to Durban. I wanted to pose a question because 60% of KZN is known to be rural and the majority of the citizens are female. So how are the women going to benefit in terms of the billions that are going to be spent on this infrastructure development for these Commonwealth Games? That was my question. Thanks. All
right. Okay. So somebody had tweeted and saying it looks like Peter Ndoro is the only man in the room here today. But no, that's not true. There's another one. But it is an important question. So it's a big event, the Commonwealth Games 2022. Congratulations. 6 billion and counting at the moment. By the time it happens, I'm sure that might have gone up a little bit. How are the most needy women in the province going to benefit or get some traction in a Commonwealth Games coming to KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, we do have a wonderful program that we are doing with women in local government particularly. We have a project that we called the Festival of Beads, where women in the rural area who are doing crafts We bring them together. We have meeting in different districts, and they bring the work that they are doing. And our role is to expose them to everywhere. If we here at this ICC, they will also be here selling their things, because you'll hear them, women standing up and saying, I'm now able to build a house for my children because I've been empowered by this program. You'll hear others even saying, I'm now being able to be respected within my community because I can earn a living and I've been able to get empowered. So that is why we're saying if we assist the women in leadership to be able to deal with those issues that affect our women out there, particularly in the rural areas, we think we would have done a contribution to our communities.
All right. Tina Dinga, table 21.
My question is, of all the women councillors, how many actually come back for a second term or are elevated to higher levels? Do we have any statistics on that?
All right, so 2016 is around the corner, so we don't want to think that a lot of the women here are not going to be here after next year. So
yes. How
do we get them to stay on?
Well, the way we're going to make sure that they stay on is when the women are assertive, when women are confident, when women are skilled, they're empowered with knowledge to be able to handle any situation within their municipality. I spoke about the fact that yesterday we had more than 255 women who graduated through the program that we're taking them through. And with that certificate, even if they don't make it as councillors, they can still go and be a business or start a small project and be able to continue with their living. But more than anything else, we want to say to women, they have to stand for local government elections, because that is where it starts. It starts where women are saying, no, because I don't want to be part of the fight. I don't want to be confrontational. I'm not going to stand. Let the men stand. But again, it goes to what our honourable chairperson is saying here, that we need women to be to be there, to stand and be able to represent their communities. Because also, Peter, what we found, even with general clean governance, most of the municipalities that are led by female councillors, you see a lot of development there. You see a lot of programs that are aimed at targeting those women who are still lining the streets, trying to make a living out of the work that they are doing.
All right.
Maybe I can add and say, as SALCA, Women Commission, we are advocating that 60% of councillors must come back for experience and knowledge management, so that those councillors can also be promoted to higher positions.
All right. Okay. Dr. Dlamini-Zuma, I'm getting a sense of the kinds of contributions that women are making, are trying to make. I'm just trying to think, from your experience, what is it about the woman, female, thinking that is valuable to make sure that they are put at a table where they can make a difference?
About their thinking?
Yeah, the way that they approach things.
I think the way women approach things is simple. They approach things from a human perspective. A woman will not go and want to buy a car before there's food on the table. So they think systematically about things that affect human beings. They want to ensure that the family is fine. They want to ensure that the community is fine. But they also want to ensure that what is a problem for them today does not become a problem for their children in future. So they also think about what they are doing should have an impact in the future generations. They are not thinking just for myself, for now, and that's it. They are thinking for future generations as well. And so, but also women bring a different perspective to work, even in business, because women are also multi-skilled. A woman can do 3 things at the same time, but men, if they are reading the paper, that's the only thing they are doing at that time. A woman could be cooking, looking after the children, soaking the washing, lots of things at the same time. Now, I'm not saying those roles should remain with them, but I'm just saying they are wired in a way that they can do many things, and that becomes an asset to whatever organization has them. But also, women are not the type of people who will say, when there's something that needs to be done, no, it's not in my CV, it's not in my job description. They will do what needs to be done. And so I think they just bring a fresh and a very practical, valuable skills into the workplace. And we have seen, even in research in big companies, that those big companies that have got women in their management, top management, are more competitive than those who don't have. So I think, but you should also think about it that God and nature put the survival of the human race in the hands of women.
Okay, a very good point. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to table 20. Well, we find Zandile, is it Jaffa? If you could just correct your name for us.
My name is Zandile Jaffe.
Okay.
My question is...
Put the microphone next to your mouth. Yeah.
How would we filter the good work done by the ruling party, especially women, to all spheres of life?
How can we filter all the good work done by our present government to all spheres of life? For example, give me an example. What other sphere of life?
Especially in deep rural communities.
Okay. All right. So how do we make sure that the work that's being done, particularly in local government, gets out into everywhere, not just pockets? Because I think that's the perception that she has.
I think it goes back to what we're saying, Peter. Today, for instance, we started yesterday on this program, and today we are going to be having different people or speakers that are going to be assisting again our female councillors. By the way, we also have Amakosi here who are female, who are part of this program. And again, we're talking about ensuring that they are skilled, ensuring that they are confident, ensuring that they are also able to withstand whatever pressures. Part of our training program also gives women opportunity to give us a feedback. If they are somewhere in KwaNongoma or they're somewhere in Umzimkhulu, they are able to pick up a phone and say, MEC, I have a problem here. How do I deal with this problem? And they're able as well to share amongst themselves as peers to say, how do you manage to have water in that particular area? How do we deal with the scheme? Or how do we get electricity? Or how can we get access to national ministers? So those are all the things that we do so that our women folk are able to have you know, that kind of confidence, if they have access, if they're also skilled and sharpened enough.
Okay, Councillor Mazibuko, I'm just wondering, the idea is if you've got a woman in leadership, that gender-sensitive policies are easier to put on the table. Has that been your experience, that as a mayor, as a district mayor, that policies that are gender-sensitive are easier to put on the table if you have women there?
Yes, Peter. Let me start by the issue that was raised. I think it's also our responsibility as leaders here that we mobilize women, especially in the rural areas. Here in KZN, we have started mobilizing women, working with Ukozi. We've got women called Amajugujugu, where we meet with women and talk about issues, also ensuring that they are able to stand on themselves wherever they are. But coming back to the policies, yes, it is easy if you have women, but you need a lot of them. Remember, when you need to pass these policies, you need numbers. So if you are only a few, then it becomes a joke. But as earlier on I said, you need to prepare yourself if you are able to argue for those policies to be passed then. We are still lacking as SALGA. We admit that we haven't been able to establish women caucuses because you don't just need female councillors from a ruling party. You need all female councillors, even from opposition, to push the gender policies. So we still need to establish women caucuses so that the voice of women becomes stronger.
Yeah.
It's very important to also identify men who are progressive and have allies and not just push only as women. Identify those and work with them who are willing to push gender and women's issues. Okay. It works better if you have allies
male
also on
well.
the male side.
MEC, how do we make more women choose local government as a career? I mean, because you leave school, this is not on your list of things that you want to do usually. How do we make it so that it is something that our young women are saying, I want to work in local government, I want as a career?
It's program like these ones, Peter. I was a councillor myself for about 15 years. Started as a councillor, became the mayor, became the speaker, and we have a lot of women in this room who are good role models where they come from. And we need more of women who are going to be role models so that other women can see that it is possible to work in local government as women. I think Dudu spoke about the proportions of women in wards against the PR. You'll find that in many wards, particularly in the rural areas as well, our communities are still not able to actively, trust or have confidence that women can withstand everything. I remember when I was appointed as an MEC, responsible for local government and traditional affairs. At the beginning, people thought, okay, traditional affairs and women, how is she going to handle it? And you can never hear a single of our Makosi saying, we are uncomfortable. We've worked so well. We've done so many things with the all-male Amakosi as well as female Amakosi. So we need more and more of women in this room so that we can duplicate we can have these numbers that we need. And as I said, Peter, the more women participate, the more the things are going to change there for other women who still need help. And we've said, of course, it doesn't mean that if you put women, automatically things are going to change. But it is women that are empowered to understand that I need more women in this council chamber so that our voice can be heard.
Okay, all right. Let's go to table 16. Nkosazana Gumede, table 16. If you could stand up and we'll get a microphone to you. Okay, has Nkosazana got a microphone? If you could stand up. While we're getting a microphone to Nkosazana, one question that keeps coming up quite a lot on Twitter, Dr. Dlamini-Zuma. Peter, please, this is from Bas Magubane, but he represents a lot of people, to be honest with you. Please, can you ask Mama Dlamini-Zuma if she can be nominated in 2017 for president or deputy president? And if she is nominated, will you accept?
Well, Peter, the ruling party has its rules, as you know. The time will come and branches have a right to nominate. And all I can say is that if the ANC, I've never refused any responsibility that the ANC has given me.
All right, so if the people say this is what we want, you'll take up the job.
But I can't answer that question directly. But any ANC person any person from the ruling party who understands the processes understands that I can't answer that question.
I think you've got a few supporters here for sure. Nkosazana Gumede, we found you. Okay, all right.
There's a high rate of unemployment in the country. I need to know what is being done to lessen this.
Okay. Is there a role for local government in dealing with unemployment?
Yes, there is a big role in local government. We have what is called local economic development. And for instance, in our department, we have programs on the EPWP where we put particularly women and young people to do those jobs. We also have what we call food for waste, where women in particular, again, because we know that if women get food, as Dr. Nkosazana Dube was saying, she will think about home. So we do have those programs, but also we have programs that we do with different co-ops in different areas that, again, we are empowering. We have what we call small town development, where, again, the target there is women, and many other programs that we really have under local economic development and growing our towns and growing our cities and our villages so that we can create many jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, Peter, maybe let me also add by saying local economic development must be at the top of the agenda of the local municipalities. But it must also be coupled with education in upgrading women and young people so that they are able, even if they are not employed, but they are able to start their own businesses. So it is very important that as we go towards 2016, we put, usually local economic development is neglected. I'm also guilty of that one. It's neglected, we don't give it a proper budget, so that we are only relying on provincial and national government to come and help with projects. Whereas we are supposed to be playing an important role as the local sphere in ensuring that jobs are created at the local level.
All right. Just before I go to the floor again, Dr. Dlamini-Zuma, I'm just wondering, you've spent quite a lot of time on the continent now, and I suspect that a lot of the problems and challenges that we're facing, you've seen in other parts of the continent. What lessons can we learn from our brothers and sisters across the continent that we can bring home to try and deal with some of these issues?
Yes. Well, let me just say, in June we introduced what we call the scorecard, gender scorecard. And we didn't look at all the things. Next year we'll be adding much more, but I'll just talk about a few that we looked at. We looked at women in leadership, in government, all spheres. South Africa did relatively well in those. We also looked at women in business. First, we looked at how many women actually own their businesses, small or big, but they own them. We found that South Africa was very low. Many African countries, even if it's small businesses, but you find lots of women who own businesses. And I remember that Minister Lindy Wezulu was there when we were introducing that, and she said, "Oh, this will help me a lot to convince government." Because it's very important that women are in the economy. And of course, we also need to begin to move from thinking of women as always micro business, microfinance, micro everything. There is nothing micro about us, as you can see us. So I think South Africa needs to really look, for instance, let me just, in Ethiopia, where I stay now, there is a deliberate program to train entrepreneurs. They have a partnership with Canada, with UNDP and government. And there is a center in Addis Ababa, the capital, but also in all the other provincial capitals, where they train trainers, and then these trainers train so that when women and youth particularly start businesses, they have been at least trained, they know what to do so that their businesses don't start and fall. But also, I've seen women who are in business in other areas, in agriculture. There is a very interesting program in one of the countries where they actually grow vegetables and fruit, not using fertilizers, using organic. But they then have processing of that food. They do the fruit, and they do the juices. They recycle plastic and make the plastic bottles. So there are quite a lot of things we can learn. There are things they can learn from us, but there are things we can also learn from the continent. The other one is access to land rights. In Ethiopia, they've actually given women land rights. Even if you co-own your land with your husband, if he decides he doesn't love you anymore, he can't go with the land.
He can come.
He will have to split the land into half.
Right.
And that has also changed the power relations in families, because now men know that they can't just walk out and remain with a resource.
Right.
So there are lots of things in Kenya, for instance. There are lots of things we can learn from them in terms of business. The government in Kenya has a rule that 30% of its procurement goes to women and youth. Wow. And so if women start businesses, they know that government will procure from them, besides other markets that they can have. And so there are lots of lessons, but women out there in the continent are real, because there is no grants. Remember, there are no grants on the continent. Yeah. There is no old age pension in the continent. So women really worked hard to earn a living. We could empower them more, and we are wanting to empower them more, but they are out there. South Africa is low down when it comes to women in business. All right. Okay. Even when it comes to businesses that are managed by women, even corporates, South Africa is low down.
All right, so lessons that we can learn from our brothers and sisters across the continent to take to heart. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Guguma Donsela is on table 49 and has an important question. Stay with us for that.